Welcome to Travis Laughs. Sorry this took so long to get out. I was kind of detained by having to re-watch Disney's Lady and the Tramp as a result of an argument with a friend of mine. It was actually more of an altercation with a friend of mine who had just watched it. It's a fight is what it was. We had a fight. He said, dude, if you watch that movie, Lady, she's a real bitch. And I'm like, what is your problem, man? And he's like, watch it. Tell me if I'm wrong. So I did. And technically, he's got a point. She was a real bitch. She was an American Spaniel bitch, to be specific and to not sound too racist. But that movie makes me really sad, the part where she's locked to the doghouse. You know, she's stuck in that confined space and she's so sad and sorrowful. Really touched me. And in case that last joke paints me as an animal hater, I don't want that to happen. So let me just tell you, I live in a house that belongs to a cat. And last night I took that cat out for a long walk in a harness with a leash. And for 20 minutes we walked around. Half that time I was saying, come here, kitty, kitty, come here. Don't you want to go in? And for 10 minutes, neither did she come here, nor was she ready to go in until she was good and goddamn done walking around the yard. And that whole time, never once did I give in to the almost overwhelming impulse to just, I'm going to go ahead and stop there because it's important that I remain the sympathetic character while I tell jokes.
Come here, kitty. You ready to go in?
Now, I know you guys came here to see me do comedy, so probably the first question on your mind is, Travis, what can we do to make the world a better place? Well, I have some ideas. Instead of us arguing about whether or not we should tear down statues of people whose place in history was that they inspired other men to stab each other in the face with bayonets, what if we celebrated the lives of people among us right now who are doing amazing things to make the world a better place? I'm talking about people like Boyan Slat. You guys know who that is, right? Right? All right, so Boyan is the 18-year-old that invented a machine that floats on the ocean and gathers plastic out of the water. I mean, if it's true, as scientists feel, that climate change is the biggest threat to the human species right now, isn't he the guy we should be building a statue out of? I mean, hey, I have a sense of humor. Let's make the statue out of plastic. That way, in 100 years, if we decide we don't really care about the planet, when we dump his statue into the ocean, it's kind of like a double insult. Or we could make a big monument to courage and bravery. Make a big statue of Eugene Goodman, the Capitol police officer who bravely and courageously used himself as sacrificial bait to lead the January 6 rioters in the Capitol building away from the exit door where the senators were escaping from the Senate floor. And I mean, look, it doesn't matter if you believe that those rioters were there with the intention of doing harm and overthrowing the rightfully elected government, or if you believe something that isn't true. The important thing is he was really brave, and we can make a monument to him, and we could have nice, smooth sides on the statue that have lots of little hidden cameras in it, so that when people come there to leave their hateful graffiti and to deface the statue, they can leave behind evidence of their crime. And you may have wondered, as have I, why are people so hell-bent on doing awful things? And I think I may have figured it out. Let me tell you a story. So imagine 4 or 5-year-old Travis. As a little boy, I was upstairs in the attic of the new house that we were living in. And my big sister, maybe 6 years old, and I were going through boxes of cards and letters from who knows how long ago. And we came across this greeting card, and inside was a little pair of plastic scissors. And when my sister, maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches long, when my sister saw it, she said, "Oh, those are mine. I want those." Well, little Travis hadn't realized that when you saw something you wanted, all you had to do was say, "It's mine," and it became yours. So I said, "No, I want those. Those are mine." And she said, "No, I saw them first. They're mine." And so I used a skill of diplomacy that has served me well as an adult, and I started screaming as loud as I could because I had learned that oftentimes that would get me at least part of my way. And my sister said, "Fine." She grabbed the scissors and she broke them into little pieces, rendering them useless. My theory is That's what people have been doing around the country lately. Like last year, for example, there were 239 million eligible voters in the United States. One candidate said, the only way we can possibly lose this election is if the other side cheats egregiously and tries to steal the election through nefarious methods. After that, almost a third of those eligible voters voted for that candidate. Several million more people voted for the other guy, so he was declared the winner. Those sore losers then said, well, fine, if you're going to be like that, we're going to take your democracy and we're going to break it up into itty-bitty little pieces, rendering it useless. And they did a good try. They did. They really did. The DNC had a whole bunch of progressives show up and say, we demand a candidate that represents the people, that cares about the little guy. That's who we want to be able to vote for. And so the DNC says, you're going to come and get loud in our house? We're going to give you the only American left who has a grandparent who was there at the original signing of the Declaration of Independence. How do you like that? Take your progressive notions, break them up into little pieces, render them useless. If you're trying to do comedy and you're having trouble thinking of funny jokes that are in any way based in reality, you just make up some bullcrap like I did in that last joke, making reality torn up into itty bitty little anyway. Clearly, we as citizens of this great nation need to dedicate ourselves to learning to take deep, calming breaths and not lashing out at each other when we're frustrated. When we find ourselves in that constricting, confining spaces of our limited thought process or our limited social experiences, we need to be kind and thoughtful to each other and not be cruel or unkind like some American spaniel, breaking the plastic scissors into little itty-bitty pieces, rendering them useless. The Boswell sisters were a close harmony trio of American singers from New Orleans back in the 1920s and the 1930s when jazz and swing were really in vogue. They cleared the way for jazz to become commercially viable. And they were, by the way, they were introduced into the Louisiana Hall of Music fame back in 1998 as a recognition for the I'm just trying to induce on the face of anyone that look of utter disbelief and boredom that I can put on my offspring's face by talking about what it was like growing up back in the 1970s. Yeah, son, the phone. All phones were attached to the wall by a curly wire. And in the morning, Grandpa had to start the Pinto by spraying starter fluid right into the carburetor because it was so cold out. Well, I'd been up for a while at that point because I had to go out and milk the goats on the milk stand in the chicken coop and then get ready for school for the day. And back then, none of the astronauts going into outer space were billionaires or even millionaires. I mean, they were just doing it to be brave, and they were in that little capsule, that incredibly confined space. And do you guys think they got sad and sorrowful? No, because they were American heroes. They weren't like little American spaniels. See you next time. I am really sorry I don't have a blooper video for you this week because I got every joke perfectly correct on the first try. Next time.